one seed, one time, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. With one hurts, with one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, baby, peace, peace. Alright. Isn't it time for us to stop dying? Isn't it time, mother, stop crying? Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. With one earth, with one needs, we gotta learn to live together. Peace, in peace, in peace. Alright, peace, peace. Everyone died. Everyone loves, everyone cried. Round the world we're all alive. So why is there war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. With one hurts, with one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Alright, isn't it time for us to stop dying? Isn't it time, mother, stop crying? Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. With one hurts, with one needs, we gotta learn to live together. Peace, in peace, in peace. Alright, make peace, peace together. Peace. I was hoping to start off really good, and then my computer crashed. And it didn't crash in a bad way. Actually, it put itself to sleep because I hit the wrong button. Oh my God. Am I ever dumb? Okay. I'm here. And also not just that too, for some reason, YouTube was basically what they're doing now. They're upgrading their video programming in when I was trying to go live stream, and for some reason, and I don't know why, but they moved everything around. So I had to go over here, and I got to go over there, and I got to go over here. Yes, I'm actually on both YouTube as well as Facebook at the same time, folks. And I will show you. Here's a quick look here. Bum, bum, bum. There I am right there. See, in YouTube as well. So, and you can see all my tools above my screen. I got 3 screens on this in my office. And yes, I have my brand new computer going, and it kicks butt, it takes names. So it's running really well. No problems, no crashes. I'm pretty happy about that. And yeah, it's and things are doing pretty good. I'm actually working on setting up an OBS programming, which basically I can run 3 or 4 different websites of a your typical websites of your social networkers, and combine them all into one unit. So I'm working on that right now, and I actually should have done that years ago on the OBS, but now the people are saying that they're not using OBS as much. They're going to be using something else. I'm not which one it is. I got to check it out. But I'm here, and I'm glad you guys are here in the chat room. Those are just coming in. Thank you for joining us. It's going to be a very interesting evening. Like I said, I'm quite late. I was trying to be in by 7, and I'm trying to get. What happened was that Facebook. Now I was going to try to use Facebook on the screen itself, like in instead of using my cell phone to do Facebook, I can do Facebook out of the computer. But YouTube and Facebook do not like to share each other, because one says, "Oh, someone else is using the camera. You can't use this one. You can't share this." So that makes sense. So, okay, I'll come up with an idea, get another camera, put in the computer. Now it's fighting each other this way. Go, I can't figure it. I just, in my mind, I call, okay, here we go back there or over again. You either do one or the other. And you can do, if you want to do Facebook, you can treat it like rooms. Same way, you can bring people in different rooms. No problem. Having to use YouTube, you can't use the same cameras at the same time. That's why people always separate cameras, one from here, one from there. But I'm working on it. Don't worry, I'm working on it. So thank you guys for joining us. I'm just coming in late, and I was ready to go at 7. I was already on at 7, and then like I said, YouTube had something brand new. They're upgrading their unit, so it took me longer because I was like, well, they moved all the buttons. Number one, I did upgrade it, and they kept on flipping links, going live, and spinning. I'm like, okay, what's going on now? What's going on? So what they had done is I already started one YouTube, and then they started another one at the same time. So I had 2 YouTubes at the same time, but they're fighting each other. And I'm like, I never started one. So for some reason, I guess they're trying to find out where I am. Like I said, I upgraded my computer. Now it's brand new. I got a brand new spanking new computer. It's quiet, no crashes. I'm happy. Yeah, this is working. I'm working on it. It's going to take a little bit, but this is going to look really good. You guys will notice as I'm all actually on my wall, I've been making some intro, I would say intro banners, and not just a picture, but intro banners as in mobile, like it's a video version of it. It's like 30 seconds. And working on that right now, making it so as I'm beginning the show, that's going to happen that way, is introduction. And, I'm still working on it. It's going to happen. Tonight, as we speak, and some of you are going to go, oh no. Okay. As you guys can see, this is called the Academy Award. And no, I did not sell my soul to the award. Okay. I got this given to me by my late friend, Jordan Maxwell. This was a joke. And he gave it to me as a gift. He said, Derek, you need this. He says, you're really good at entertaining people. And he said, I want to give this to you. And so I want to thank the Academy. So that's what I got here. Plastic little miniature version of it. A lot of people can actually get these in California. Jordan actually lived in California, And he was quite the guy. I mean, some people say he could be really serious, and then he knows the stuff. Over 60 plus years of knowledge, and I was very fortunate to know the man. Not for a lot of years, a few years, but he was introduced to me by Johnny Enoch a long time ago, and so basically Johnny introduced me to him, and then I got to know Jordan through my own interviews. I used to interview him on my other shows. I've had him back there on my show, God, 2015, 16. So I've had him on my show a few times, and then I got an opportunity to meet him live when I did the UFO conference back in 2020, and up in Nevada. So when I was doing my presentation there, I was very fortunate to spend some time with him in person. He was a very tall man. Holy crow. Like, I'm 5'9", almost 5'10", 5'9". I shrunk some because of my age. But Jordan was like 6'2", 4", something like that. But very tall man. He's a really nice guy, super nice guy. But he tells you straight up what's going on in this world. And I learned a lot from him. Through his own research, I learned a lot from this man. Plus, I was very fortunate. He gave me one of his books they wrote. I'm shared this with you guys before, but this is called The Power of the Matrix, or Matrix of Power. And so he autographed it for me right in there. So to my very good friend, Derek White Sky Cloud, Jordan Maxwell, and got it. So yes, he autographed it, and I went through that whole book. Oh my God. Lots of stuff you're going to learn from it. Now, I will be sharing some of the information tonight. Now, it's important that you guys need to know what's going on. Hey, Kathy, nice to see you. And Ernie, and everyone else is in the chat room coming in. We've got a lot of things to talk about. Number one, everyone's always talking about Hollywood. Everyone's talking about, and Jordan brought this up too for a long time. He always said that Hollywood actually is a witch covenant. Now, this is the dark version of it, not the good version, but the bad version of it. And the Hollywood represents the witch, or a holly tree, which the witches use. Okay. And it's based under witchcraft, but it's also under version of, SANTN. And they call it basically Hollywood actually was all to do with people that want to become famous and, actor, singer, entertainer. And the first thing what you became was that stage actor. There was no film back then. And Hollywood was there was never a film in Hollywood at the beginning. When the filming started coming in back in the early 1900s, where Hollywood started to become what it is. And everyone had different versions of it, which is Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM. Okay, that's what it is. And your Hollywood, and different kinds of there was different kinds of studios. There were all kinds of I would say Hollywood studios. People actually had different actors are under contract. They would do a film over this one particular one. These Hollywood studios used to always battle amongst each other who has the best actors and entertainers and singers. Now, it was going on for a long, long time. So in it, or in the story itself, Hollywood was good. People admired those people on the silver screen. The reason why they call it the silver screen, because the film ink looked like silver, and they used silver in the film reel. Okay, so that was part of the filament. That's called the silvery. That's why they call it the silver screen. And that's exactly what went on at the time. Through the years, people admired certain actors and actresses, and they always wanted to be like them, whether a singer, entertainer, you name it. So Hollywood became quite famous. Now, the SANTAN idealism of it did not exist in Hollywood at the time. It had nothing to do about signing here to the devil. Okay, it had nothing to do with it. Later through the years, there was certain governmental people that got involved. certain people that brought it forward to Hollywood that created their own satanic church, which they brought in the early or late 40s to the early 50s, and more likely it never really started until the 1960s. So before that, no one actually signed their life over it. It was natural, okay? And I'll tell you why. According to my late friend Jordan Maxwell, oh, not Jordan Maxwell, my other person. Oh my God. Think, Derek. Kenny Kingston, okay? Very famous medium, psychic medium, Kenny Kingston. And Kenny told me, he said, Hollywood had its own way of developing its own work. He knew about the satanic stuff that came in later on, but it was never, he never got involved, never immersed in it. He said he totally separated himself from it. But his job was to basically to get to meet people, or they came to him because of his fame, because his quality or professionalism as being the psychic medium, though, and he was actually able to help communicate, make contact with people that passed away. He was running seances, and that's what was one of the biggest things going at the time. From the 1930s to the 1960s, seances were really big back then to make communication with those loved ones that are passed. And it went as far as even famous magicians that want to be involved doing seances. And that's how far it went. I mean, it was crazy, right? So it went from magic to Hollywoodized filming. And that's why they used to say filming is like being in a magic land or magic world. Later on, Disneyland came through that later on. That's down the road. Before that, Hollywoodism was just simple. Wanted to be an actor, entertainer, singer on film. You just wanted to be out there to entertain the people. And then you're ready for the next film, and do another story. But again, a lot of people back then could not afford able to go to a movie. It was not quite expensive, but then when the 1930s, when the Second World War happened, 1930s, a lot of people could not afford, and then the Wall Street crashed, so nobody really went to the filming. So they allowed free passes to the filming of the studio. So most people really made their money in the food that came forward later on. They were selling food in the theater, and you got to come in the theater, but you got to pay for the food, and they did that for a while. So as long as they're able to entertain, it went from filming on the stage to burlesque, and they combined them both together. So they would do burlesque by some nights, and other nights they'll just play the film or stage. So they was mixing it all up. Okay. It really became interesting when the women came in starting to do burlesque, which basically, the naughty girls, when they're actually on stage. Now, no one really stripped down to complete bare naked, but they teased the men or teased the public, because basically it was husbands and wives there too. It wasn't just the men. So it was going on for quite a few, I would say, years, until someone realized that there's something here that they can do to control society or the masses, and anybody who wants to be famous. They thought, well, I'm doing this kind of thing. I'm practicing satanic church. I'm bringing it to Hollywood now, and they were trying to basically make it cool to find something new to play with, because a lot of actors, they were trying to find means and ways to, I guess you'd say, find some source of entertainment for themselves, because they were getting bored. A lot of times they don't always go away to go travel or to travel another part of the world. They want to keep themselves entertained, so they always like to discover something new. And that's what they did. So these people, and if you remember, through the years, we've had satanic churches, we've had different varieties of people rediscovering, even artists, the guys that became famous from Studio 54, okay, where they opened up that nightclub back in the early 70s, Disco Nights, where that place was nuts, okay? People gave their soul to be there, okay? Well, Satan did not have a hand in the theater since the beginning. Men always, okay, you're writing in here, didn't Satan have a hand in theater since the beginning? Men always played women's roles, and later on, both genders were inverted. Let's see here. There is a whole transvestigation movement, and you can easily men or women, and women are men if you know what biological. Okay, you're getting into the science of it. Let me explain this to you. It goes back to the Roman time period. The Romans men didn't think it was. Don't forget, guys. Romans. If you look back at the time of the Roman Empire, they were bringing in slaves, and these were gladiators. Now, the men used to fight in the rings naked, and that's how it started first, okay, through the generations. They were actually, it was some custom by some guy who was actually one of the Caesars who did not like women. He rather have a boy or a man instead. Okay, that's where the Romans started. The Roman Empire started this. They were teaching the people of the Roman Empire, the men, that women are not accepted as a partner or a partner with the men. You had to be with a man or a boy. So the women had to find their own means and ways of entertaining themselves by sneaking in a man in the back door. Women didn't become lesbian. They wanted to be with another man. So that's where the Roman Empire started this. Not the very beginning. It had nothing to do with it. God, Jesus did not see any that sort of thing happen when he walked. That was never mentioned. It happened during the time of the Romans. Okay. The Roman Empire, they're the ones that started all this. Now, also during the Second World War, the Germans also played the same role because there was no women to entertain them. So the men dressed up as women to entertain them on the field. You're right, Ernie, on that one, Caligula. And that's a true story. That guy was messed in the freaking head. Both his whole family was nuts. Okay. And they had, so anyways, I'm going to just go back to the Second World War. So the Germans did the same thing. And again, it was not the regular German soldiers that went men to men. It was the SS officers that were the ones that decided to, well, there's no women, because most of the women, and my wife can tell you this because her mom was in an internment camp during the Second World War. Her mother never got, she was not Jewish, but her mother actually was forced to feed the pigs. Her job was to cut up the food, the very fine food for pigs, to feed the pigs, because that pigs were the main food source. Okay, so the men, when they're entertaining, they missed having a woman, so they got men dressed up as women, and that's how they got involved by going after each other. A lot of the men were forced to join the military, just like the Americans were forced to join the military. Okay. Everyone had a secret. No one's perfect. Nothing was forced. You were never, after the Roman Empire, you were not forced to be with another man. That's just the way it was. But if there was a woman around, and you guys think about this, okay? Think about this. Every movie, every plot, every story. If there's ever a woman or found on the farm, how many soldiers went after her? Okay. Quite a few. So because she was a woman, to them, that was like a bonus. Okay. And I'm not talking about, no one's perfect. No American soldier was perfect. No German soldier was perfect. If they were going to go after her, they went after her. Now, not just the Germans, or there was other countries, Frenchmen, you name it, whatever, who was very, very disrespectful, mistreated women, they went after. Now, there are some really good guys out there, never harmed a woman. Okay. And the nurses came into the Second World War later on, especially the British. So you got your blend of people throughout history. The forcing of transgenderism never really happened until Germans started to practice science and messing with the genders. And that's during the Second World War. The 13 scientists, not 12, 13 scientists, when they made that deal with President Roosevelt, okay, don't forget, folks, the Americans believed they won the war. They did not. Germany ran out of money. So Hitler approached Rothschild, say, look, I need money to keep this war going. And they just turned around and said, no, the war is over. They're the ones that made the decision. No, the war is over. We're going to make a deal with President Roosevelt, and he's going to sign it over saying, okay, if you give us 13, or if you take our 13 scientists and they're going to create NASA, okay, they came over, they still experimented on people through the years. It was still gave them their permission to do whatever they want to do. In the meantime, the deal was they were allowed to sacrifice, to use 1 million people for experimentation, no matter if it's a man, woman, or child. At the same time, there are certain people, or certain kind of scientists that were very off kilter. Okay. And again, they were experimenting on people even during the time of the Second World War. Why do you think the SS officers were the most corrupt in the group? Because as far as they're concerned, their program was to depopulate. And that's where Bill Gates Sr., which was Bill Gates's grandfather, was part of the SS. He was the one that helped create the Spanish flu. They created it to experimentally, basically to depopulate then. But again, they're not the very first to depopulate people. They were not, that was just, that was the first experimentation for them to depopulate the world back then. Okay. There's my great niece in the room. Hi, Jocelyn. So, no, great niece. Yeah, you're my great niece. And then we've got some great kids in there too. Tell them congratulations, by the way. So anyways, let's go here. So a lot of this was played. Okay. Now, smallpox never came in, Ernie, and that was because of the British. The British created the smallpox, not the Germans. It was the British. They started doing experimentations during the Second World War as well, but they were playing with that even earlier, and they actually created. So it goes even further back. Let me bring this up for you guys. You guys may not know the whole story. Where's my book? Let me bring you out my history. Okay. I'm going to show you some very, very important history that most people don't even know. And they haven't shared it with you because they're afraid to. If they did, it would draw the whole world. I mean, the whole world would go nuts. Absolutely freaking nuts. Okay. Let's talk about this first, because you guys need to, this is all historical. You guys need to know this. This is very, very important. Okay. And I'm going to put a second pair of glasses on because this is fine print. So pardon my second eyes. Okay. Medical experiments, vaccines, biological agents, bacterial airdrops, and more, which began the Black Plague. Okay. And the Black Plague started back in the early times, which was 1665. So this is where all of this began to depopulate the world, or the people. Here's how, reason why they did this. The Black Plague was not just an experiment. It was intentional. When the rich people start noticing, especially the royal family. Now, it wasn't the royal family that wanted to depopulate. It was the Pope and his cardinals. Okay. When the Pope knows he cannot control the public, the people of the land, and they were part of the German, okay, they're German as well, and they call them Germans, okay, not German. We start using the word G as a German. They're actually called German. That was the original wording of their title, of their identity was German, not German. The Bible was written in Latin. That's why no one was allowed to even know Latin except the cardinals, and the monks that studied, and the Pope. They are the ones that created the Latin language, which is based under German teachings. The popes were in control. They were the ones that are messing with the people from the beginning. Okay. So when the people started becoming a little more free with themselves, having to be happy in a happy life, especially if they're owning some land and you wanted to live a good life, then they said, hey, nobody's turning to the royal family anymore for help. So we're going to downsize these people. So we're going to create a sickness so that to get the people to believe that they need us again. So we're going to give them permission to walk into the forest, but you cannot hunt the king's deer, because if you hunt the king's deer, then you be executed, you be imprisoned and executed because you hunted the king's deer, even though you're starving. That's happened in every land across the world. And yet a lot of these royal families were not royal families. They took the land through wars and made them a royal dynasty. It had nothing to do with specific generation. They took control of who they wanted to keep or take away. They wanted to depopulate. That's the reason why the Romans, when their soldiers came in, they were trying to conquer all of the lands all across the world so they can own everything. That's why you're under royal, the name royal, under royal control of the king or the queen. So your leaders of the family in England were not British. They were German. Queen Elizabeth and all her family were German. She was the cousin to Adolf Hitler. Did you know that? I bet you didn't. They were German. So now how come Germany attacked England? Because it was under a Brit common law control. A Brit means separatism from the German and the British. So the queen, when she came in and her family came before her, they were from Germany. Look back to history, folks. You'll find out. They go way back to Germany. Okay? Way back. They were control of it. Now, this goes even further back to 1665 and even to the year 1100. Now, they are the ones that helped create the Black Plague. Yes, Hitler was Austrian, and the Austrians spoke, what was language? German. Okay? My dad, his ancestor, and I'll tell you that my father's side of the family, okay, it's true story, folks. I discovered this when I was a kid growing up. My dad didn't even know until he was told by his mom. My grandmother told my dad that we have royalty in the family, but my grandma didn't make a big deal about it because it was just a story. Until my father my father and family did the research, found out that our family goes back to Halexa, that family name of Halexa. Her mom, which is my great grandmother, was the Queen of Austria. Okay, we go way back. Queen of Austria. Now, how come? If she's Queen of Austria, did she stay queen there? No. There was actually an infight, or basically there was a war between the people and the royal family, as always, and always been a war within families and cousins, you name it. So her and her husband were forced to leave the country or perish and die there. They refused, so they said, no, we're going to leave. They left Austria. They were actually kicked out. Now, I don't know if they did anything wrong. They decided to leave, period. They came across on the ship, on the boat on the way to Canada, and which basically they didn't know first. It was Canada. They called it North America. Okay. Canada was never called Canada back then, folks. They're called North America. People don't know that. They thought they're going to North America. And so she, okay, you're saying what? Wasn't Queen Habsburg line? I knew that when I was a young teenager about the royal family. Good. Yeah. So anyways, look, listen to where, okay, let me go further about my family. So they came across the water. Now, halfway across the water, my great grandfather passed away, which is the king of Austria, was the king of Austria, died on the ship. He brought his brother with him. So it was just the two brothers and herself. I don't know of any, I don't think there was any children that went with them. I don't know anything about kids. They were a young couple back then. They were a young couple. So she came across the water with her husband. He died on the ship. So what happened was his brother told him, take my wife and marry her to take care of her. And he promised it. He did. So he took care of her. They married her before he died on the boat. Or when he died, I should say. After he died, he married her. Like it was, I'm not sure what time, but they did. The ship's captain married him. They got off the boat and they came to Canada. Okay. And they migrated across the land. They moved to, I think it was from Nova Scotia to, came to Alberta. And Alberta back then was just a country town, just country. It was all settlements. Okay. So they went out in that area between Saskatchewan and Alberta. They actually migrated to Saskatchewan. So at the time, my great-grandmother, great-grandfather, or great-uncle, should say, great-uncle, if you guys know what a thrasher is, the old-fashioned tractor thrashers, and they became farmers. They didn't talk about anything to do with their royal family. There's no kids at the time. No, there was children. They didn't have children after. She did have children. She had my grandmother. I think there was like 3 or 4 kids that she had at the time. Anyways, through the time being farmers, and again, I guess that day, everyone stopped to have lunch, and my great uncle decided not to have lunch. He sat up against the thrasher, which was shut down, and everyone had lunch. And then when the guy came back and turned on the thrasher, nobody realized that the wheels of the thrashers made of steel ran over him and killed him. Okay. So she lost 2 husbands. So she became a single woman the rest of her life. But she had to raise her children on her own. But she was still a farm woman, and she raised them up to that way. Hay thrasher, yeah, the big, huge steel one. You know, the big, huge steel wheels, right? If you guys look up the word thrasher, you'll find out. Anyways, let's go further into this. Yeah, you're right, Keith. Yeah, the Upper Canada, Lower Métis Federation of Canada, 1600. Yes, that's what it was. So basically, again, they came across. She was there. Now that's where my kind of funny part is. Through the years, and I'll go a little quicker on this one here. Through the years, my dad's uncle, which was my grandma's brother, he became famous. He actually supplied, my dad told me this, he actually supplied home brew, okay, moonshine, to Al Capone. In Saskatchewan, there was actually a train station in Saskatchewan. I think it's Saskatoon. When it was back then, way back those folks, they would actually make moonshine and sell it to Al Capone. And Al Capone would pick it up at the train station and then bring it back to New York. My father's family was famous for his home for moonshine. We have history. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's go here. So what happened was the medical experiments, vaccines, biological agents, bacterial airdrops, and more, which began the Black Plague. Okay. And 1665, 1666, the plague started back in London, England, and it's called the Yersinia pestis. Yersinia pestis. Bacterium. Now, this actually started in London, England. London. Okay, now this is where the Muslims have taken over London right now. They're trying to control that territory of London. Now, they killed. This is what happened was the Black Plague killed over 100,000 people. The bacterium was transmitted by, they say, the human flea or louse, okay, and which brought forward through the years. Now, what happened was who created, now, the bacteria has to be created. Now, there was the kings and the queens, or the royal families, also had scientists that were creating sicknesses to see how much they can control the population. Well, when they controlled this, they lost control of it, and many of the royal family members, including some of the royal families, had died because of the viruses that the scientists that worked for the royal family died on account of it. They didn't realize how horrible what it had done to create this, that basically wiped out a lot of people. Now, if you guys remember why people were afraid to bathe, they were taught by the royal family that bathing was wrong, that water is not good for you. And so people never bathed hardly at all. And if they did, just to wash their clothes, so to speak, but they never hardly bathed. In fact, they're taught not to bathe. This is the people that are poor, not to bathe. The ones that were rich were bathing. They always bathed with their clothes on if necessary. But the people that were poor, okay, knew for some reason being clean was jumping into the lake or a pond just to clean up, because they know very well they couldn't stand themselves when they go like, oh man, I can't handle you. So they jump into the lake to get rid of that smell. Soap was not a big part at the time until later on lye was created through burning of firewood. They would use the ashes to wipe their body down, and they used to take their ashes and wash themselves all over with ashes, dried ashes, and they get it wet and they rub them down. That's how they get rid of the smell off their body. I never knew. And then I guess it was where lye began, through the ashes, right? It lye through the ashes. So humankind actually was learning about cleanliness, but yet the royal family was trying to teach the people, or trying to scare the people, that cleanliness was not good. Now, that's the reason why you see these guys, when the plagues did happen, you see these scientists walking around with these cones, look like black leathered, helmeted. They look like ravens. Okay. Now, why would these guys had beaks, right? What I learned from that was inside the beaks, those pieces, the scientists themselves, or even doctors themselves, they would actually put scents of smell of flowers, and if they have any type of citrus, they would put it inside the beak, so they can only breathe in or smell the smell of flowers and scent of flowers, and not the smell of death. Okay, that's why they wore those. So it wasn't just a piece that looked like it wasn't just a costume to look like, they call it the death suit. That was because that was to keep the bad smell away off from them. Okay. Also, to go further, now in 1918 was the Spanish flu. This is where Bill Gates Sr., who actually was a Dr. Gates, who also was the one that created, okay, he's the one that created the Spanish flu, which is not from Spain, by the way, but they had to come up with a name, so they blamed the people from Spain. That's all it really was. That's how it began. Now, to go further with this, the people were forced to wear masks, okay? forced to wear masks. Let's see if I can bring my file up and show you guys the 1918 times. Let's see. Let's bring this up here. Because you'll be surprised. Some of you, most of you may know, but I wanted to bring this up for you guys to see because it's important to know what really went on. I'm going to swing this over here. Make it bigger. Pop it open. Okay. I want it here. Let's do this. Okay. Now you will see how they said they had the flu vaccine for 78 years. We still have the flu. And are you awake yet? Basically, everybody was doing themselves. Not every guy was a doctor. And sometimes these guys that were doing the inoculations were actually priests. They wear white collar priests and they're doing the inoculation because they're taught how to do it. Okay. Second. Now, if you read this, we already know this man knew. 1918 flu. 30 million died from bacterium pneumonia caused by, what are they wearing? Masks. Okay. We are the carbon people. We have the carbon in our system when we breathe out. When you cover it up for too long, you become very, very sick. So back then, there was not any kind of paper material or a netting of sort that was made of like a fabric, like a material, like a paper. The people that wear these masks today have no idea. They're only for dust. Still to this day, they don't want to believe it. People back then made their own masks by using fabric, which basically carries more bacteria. And they were reused. It was never clean at hardly, and that's the reason why people got sick. They did get sick. Say if somebody had a cold, and when they did get sick, they would still wear the mask. So it made them even sicker to the point of consumption. So it got worse. Now, when this thing happened, when it began the second phase of this time back in 2020, this man said that he was going to follow the new rule, and that is create internment camps. Now, these internment camps were saying they're going to find people that are infected with the, you know what, but it wasn't to be. And this is actually were built already. Some of these Walmart stores were shut down. This was part of Ontario, by the way. You guys probably may not know this. Up in Ontario, he already built these, pre-built them. They were pre-built. They were not meant for prisoners. They were meant for us. Then they were going to reverse the idea to use these for people used to be you know what. Okay? That's where it went too far. That's why it went too far. So the thing is that people may not realize that this has gotten crazy. Now, what happened was, let's see here, bring this up, and that would be every kid got one of these. It says autopsies after the war proved that the 1918 flu was, okay, NOT, you know what, at all. It was caused by random dosages of an experimental bacterium meningitis, which is to this day mimics, like the symptoms, the massive multiple assaults with additional vaccines on unprepared immune systems. Soldiers and civilians created a you know what written on there, folks. These were proven. Okay, look at here. The first case, military, you know what, experiments in Fort Riley, Kansas. Fort Riley. You need to know this is important. So nobody can say, "Oh, you're crazy. You don't know." Yes, I do. I have the information right here. So how did they die? World War I ended sooner than expected, leaving huge quantities of unused experimental vaccines. Fearing that soldiers coming home would spread the disease to their family, the U.S. government pushed a larger vaccine. Look. She's wearing one. They're all outside. But look at the guy over here in the corner. He's not wearing one at all. Now, how do we know this guy's actually dying? How much would you believe or think? What would you say if this guy's an actor, a crisis actor as well? Look at her. Her mask is off. See right there? She dropped it down. This is all to show you, folks. Okay. Ambulance station. This is all a setup to show you what's going on. Again, that's why. World War I draft, human tests subjects. The fledgling pharmaceutical industry, sponsored by the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, had something they never had before: a large supply of human tests subjects supplied by the U.S. military's first draft. The test pool of subjects ballooned over 6 million. Million, folks. So people are, this is what's happening. We were never told the truth. It kept us away from knowing the truth. Because they would say to you, "Oh, you don't need to know." "Oh, no, it's okay. You don't need to know. You don't need to know." Okay. Look at here. International and Common Law Tribunal for Public Health and Justice has passed an order of lifetime jail without parole to both Bill and Melinda Gates and others. Judge Dr. Leo Ribello of India, mooted that they all be sent to the Guantanamo Bay prison for the killings of the blah, 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 right? Now, we already know what happened to real Bill and Melinda Gates, and that was through the fake polio vaccinations. That was back in 2010. The real couple were actually taken by the neck in public in India. And then the Rockefellers recreated a whole new couple that looked just like them to play the game, to play the role. And here they again play the role. Bill Gates, vaccination crime record, 496,000 paralyzed children in India and more. Okay. If you looked at your number right there, that's where's ncbi.nim.nih. This is all the real facts, folks, right here. White House petition to investigate Gates Foundation's garners more than 600,000 signatures, and yet they said it was not strong enough to be signed. Indian doctors blame the Gates campaign for a devastating vaccine strain polio epidemic that paralyzed 496 children between the year 2000 and 2017. You guys get this story? He was still experimenting. It's the most frightening experiment epidemics in Congo, the Philippines, and Afghanistan, all linked to the Gates vaccines. By 2018, 3/4 of the global polio cases were from the Gates vaccines. He actually is he's an investor And he's not an investor in living. He is an investor in taking you out. He makes money when you leave this world. That's what his goal was. His plan was that. Now, he's not doing this alone. You guys think he's the only one alone. No. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Bilderbergs, they're all in the plan. That's the role. That's why they called the World Economic Forum. That's why they called the UN. That's why they called WHO. Okay? The World Health Organization. They're all in the cahoots together. They all work together. And Mark Carney was one of the leaders of the UN and WHO. He knew all about this a long time ago. Okay? He knew about this. Look at what the abuse that people went through. This actually took place in Calgary. This kid was only 14 years old, and he was outside in the snow in Calgary, Alberta, playing in the snow. He actually was playing hockey by himself, and he was on the ice and says, "Police arrest a man for playing hockey outdoors with his friends." He was a young 14-year-old. They arrested him. Two female, I watched the video. These two female officers beat the living crap out of him and pulled him down. He says, "What do you want?" And they kept trying to pull him down to the ground onto the ice, and they had to knee him in the back to get him down and handcuff him, take him to jail because he was outside playing hockey. They told me he was not allowed to play. And yet the police take a knee in front of the Marxist Black Lives Matters protesters as if they're the ones that had more power than anyone else. Give me a freaking break. Who taught them all this? George Soros. He actually owns the Black Lives Matter page himself because he does this purposely for us to hate each other. That's his job. That was his plan. He likes where people can argue amongst each other and hate each other. That was his plan. Now, their second plan was this. Every child that's on the milk carton will never be found. You know why? Because they were the sacrifice. The price of fame. What does it mean? That's why I'm talking about this today. The anti-mask meeting tonight. This actually took place on January 25th. Okay. That was almost 1919. The protest against the unhealthy mask ordinance, because they actually passed a law that was illegal to not wear. If you were wearing a mask, it was illegal not to wear. It was illegal to not to wear a mask, and you go to jail. Okay. This lady over here, right over here, she was wore the sign. They put a sign around her coat and says, "Wear a mask or go to jail." And yet this little girl here put her mask under her nose because they couldn't handle it no more. She wanted to breathe air. Here's a guy as a conductor on the tram, and he had to wear a mask. Yet these guys here are the rich ones. And this guy was not wearing a mask. They thought it was funny. And I've been looking at all these old photos that I was given to me from 1918. A lot of these guys and police officers, nobody was wearing a mask unless you are, again, that same old story, being exempt. Okay. Now, some of you guys may not like to see this again, that brought this up from what happened in the past in 2020 and 21 or 19, whatever. The fact is, the reason why I'm bringing this up now, because they want to bring it back again. Yes, I'm not kidding you. Carney is talking about doing the masking again. It ain't going to happen. He's bringing this up. Everyone wants to play the same game, play the role. But here's what their plan was. Right there, folks. Every politician wore these pins. They're miniature pins, small pins. They put them on the lapels. Those pins represent the New World Order. That was their plan. And guess what, folks? That's the UN. That's their sign. That's part of their flag. And that was where Mark Carney actually was the member. He was one of the directors of the UN. He knew all about this. He knew all about this. And so did Trudeau. So these are different tools that people were forced to use through the generations to keep your silence. Look at this. It wasn't just the color of your skin. It was who you were. As tools of silence and degradation. Okay. There's a black man that represents slavery. There's another person here. Look at this. Here and here. They weren't prisoners, but they were told to keep their silence. Look at the women. She wasn't allowed. She spoke up for herself, and they gagged her by putting this on her face. This is where you don't have your freedom. They did this a long time ago. For years. For years. And look at here. All these people decide to make their own masks, and now they're covering themselves up. And what do you see today? The young people today are going down the streets wearing those masks all the time. And they think it's comforting because they don't have to be identified if they decide to break a law. Or they think, okay, well, what if it happens again? What if they bring it up again? Okay. See what the doctor says. Bacterial pneumonias are on the rise. Gee, I wonder why. I'm seeing patients that have facial rashes, fungal infections, bacterial infections. Why might that be? Because untrained members of the public are wearing medical masks repeatedly in a non-sterile fashion. Whether they wear it, the fact is, you should never have to wear it all, period. It's gone too far to the point where people are actually wearing them as a symbol of now to get away with hurting someone physically. You'll see a lot of people that are actually part of Antifa. All the Antifa now are not wearing, and they're not exposing their faces. They want to hurt people. And so they're wearing masks. If they don't wear masks, they're wearing full covers on their faces so they can beat on you or hit you and bang on you, whatever, attack you and harm you. And they get away with it because our prime ministers, okay, Trudeau and Carney said, oh, it's okay. They have their freedom to say what they want to do or their freedom what they want to wear. And yet, if you walk into a bank, before all this ever happened, you were never allowed to put that on your face, nor are you allowed to wear sunglasses. You had to remove both of them so they can see your face. Isn't that symbolic? I'm sure you guys will love that one. So know the facts before you wear one. Decreases oxygen intake through breathing through a mask decreases the amount of oxygen we need to live and be healthy. Increases blood acidity and makes breathing difficulty. Increases toxin inhalation. Toxins that we normally exhale as we breathe become trapped in the mask and re-inhaled into the lungs, increasing symptoms. It shuts down the immune systems. Okay. So it decreases oxygen intake, increases carbon dioxide and toxin intake, putting body under stress, releasing cortisol and shutting down immune processes. Encourages triggering an infection from dormant retroviruses already in the body, taking advantage of a weakened immune system due to the mask wearing. Scientifically inaccurate. Virologists measure COVID-19 to be, okay, blah, 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 blah. Effectiveness not studied. Absolutely no peer review studies have been carried out. The blah, blah, blah. Okay. You guys can pause that to have a look at it after. Yeah. 6 million were, where did we hear this number before? We lost 2 billion people in this world due to the, you know what, since this past year because of that. And we're still losing them because of all the jabs. And myocarditis. And you hear this all the time. It's because it's from the jab itself. I don't care if I have people online out there or whether it's Facebook or YouTube, they're going like, you can't say that. You're not a doctor. You can't say that. Bullshit. I can say what I want. It's called freedom of voice. So I made this up. They went that far. These kids decided, you know what, we're not going to do that. So they pulled their pants down. How do we make peace with all that of our family and friends who did decide to get the? Is because they were convinced by their doctors. They're convinced by the community and the families. They're wanting to believe what the government is actually telling the truth. The government are the biggest liars because they're a corporation. And Kathy, you know that they're the biggest corporation. They are there to depopulate. Their programming was depopulating. When I said before that Bill Gates, when he was unhappy, he wanted to depopulate the world by using the CIA's assistance to help depopulate the CIA, to help depopulate by using his recommended jabs, which was designed by Dr. Fauci. And Fauci made sure, and he's also the same guy that created the AIDS virus. He also the very same one who created the bird flu, H1N5, all the ones before that, and he's still trying to spread it again. So these guys are continuously always wanting to keep experimenting on us because they believe in depopulation because they're part of a satanic organization. And as long as they get paid a lot of dollars and they're happy and they're being told to believe that they will never come to harm, that the Bilderbergs and the Rothschilds and whoever else is very rich telling them, oh, don't worry about it. They won't touch you. I'll make sure of it. So they walk around being cocky about it. So this is where this man here was one of another person who actually was one of the biggest idiots who was also responsible to scare the people. He was hired under a $2 billion contract by Justin Trudeau because this man actually has a printing business. He hired him for 5 years worth of stickers, floor stickers and wall stickers to stand 6 feet apart. He was already pre-planned and he hired him to make them all those stickers all across Canada. This is the man that made them. And this man should be behind bars. Just because I didn't take the jabs, but I take every day nicotinase coenzyme Q10 for the heart and once a week nicotine patch. Since I do this, I feel better. Also, I wish they also, of course, over once a month. You're doing perfect. Let's keep on doing what you're doing, Sabine. If you're happy and feeling healthy, you go with it. Okay. So I'm saying this, even though I was told that he's not here, but yet he's here. Now, here's what's happening. He may not have been taken away yet, but what they've done, everyone used to walk around in boots for a while. Okay, those big, huge medical boots. Everybody in Hollywood and anybody that actually was a politician was walking around these boots. And I found out later that from my military intel, they said that they've actually inoculated a tracking system in their arm. So now they can't run away very far. So nobody's wearing a boot like they used to. Now, this is what the hospitals are still trying to do this right now to this day. You'll see on the end of the stick that's already on there. They already put the sickness on the end of the stick and they shove it way back, and that's how they caused harm in people. People come down with the myocarditis and having nose conditions, nose problems, even cancer on their nose from those sticks shoving down their nose. That's been proven. Okay. I love this one what I did here. I'm not sure if you'll hold that one up. No, won't let me open it. I won't bother with that one. Gonna open up that program. Okay. Now, why I'm saying all of this, I want you guys to know exactly the factual truth regarding what's going on, because I said before, giving you a heads up, they're going to try and get you to do the same thing, to walk around in those, you know what? Why? Because they are trying to see how far they can repeat this. And there should never have to, no one should ever have to go through this ever again, because it affected already the children all across the world. They became, it became even worse.
Vaccine-related deaths continue to skyrocket, according to the CDC. 2,000 dead last week, 2,000 dead this week. More people are dying from the vaccine than the disease. Not to mention all the people that have become prisoners in their own body due to the neurological effects from this vaccine. Of course, the big pharma companies aren't being held liable. Doesn't seem like anybody can stop the rollout of this death vax. The mainstream media doesn't want to hear about what's happening. They continue to shill their big pharma products on the unsuspecting people out there. And these are real people that are dying because of this vaccine, and nobody can hear them scream because of the censorship, because of this New World Order agenda to genocide people without mercy. 11,000 deaths according to VAERS, and that's only 1% of the deaths according to their website. So we're looking at nearly 1 million people that have been killed due to this vaccine, and nobody's going to be held liable. It's a genocide happening before our very eyes, ladies and gentlemen. These people are being killed. And of course, they want to mandate this toxic vaccine wherever they can. They're starting to roll out COVID passports. Show us your papers. It's looking like Nazi Germany out there. It's a nightmare. It's a crime against humanity. It's a crime against all the Nuremberg codes. It's a crime against every constitutional right that we have. But of course, they don't want to hear about that. They don't care about your rights because they censor you. They spy on you. They want to take your guns. This is a pandemic. They've been planning this for years. This is an extermination program. It's a genocide. It's no different than...
Okay, I want to bring this back for a second, guys. I want to show you a little bit of a trick. Okay, what they do. Okay, you'll see here when they'll tell the numbers, show the numbers, and the newspaper says the virus kills 178 people. Okay, now here's the crazy part. I did an experiment. Okay. And I did an experiment by actually going from province to province to province to province in their newspaper. And during the time when this actually was happening, I went to, okay, I'm going to go to Nova Scotia and see if how many passed away in Nova Scotia. It said in Nova Scotia, people died, killed 178 people. So then I said, okay, I'm going to do Ontario. And it says Ontario killed 178 people. Then they went to Manitoba, Winnipeg, it killed 178 people. Then they went again to Calgary, and every newspaper said that the virus killed 178 people in their province. The numbers were exactly the same. Now, why did it say 178 people? Because it's a code, folks. I'm going to show you a code, very special code, okay? So I'm going to go here. Let's use this one, and I'll bring this up. Now look at the number 178. So there is a Q site that I use to get the answers. This is for us to see. And it said, okay, now this is 178. Active immediately, stringer equals code equals command. What stringer was provided 2 days prior to the event? What were the keywords in the stringer? Now, that's the date of the year when that 178, okay, that was like 1919 or 20. So it's showing you a code of people, what's going on. They're showing you different things. These are code words. If you understood them after, but in the end, it said Q. They're the ones who are giving us heads up what to expect, okay, what to look out for. So who was in the home shortly before the collision? These are people that were corrupting us, that they're being chased after. So if you see numbers that come out in 3 different digits, and these are the Q codes, this is what we use, and it'll give you a better idea of what's going on. Okay, because he'll have a better understanding of this. So you guys are, it's a wonderful thing to know that you guys, yeah, apparently he could be still alive, but again, they also may need him for something. So they're always needing people for a purpose. No, I won't use that one either. Okay. Now let's step away from that and let's go into, let's see here. I don't want to talk about Pizzagate because everybody has spoken about that for a long, long, long time, and then don't need that. But I want to bring up this because this is exactly what's going on. Okay. I said to people, here's what the police are doing to people right now. This is like it was back in 41 during the Second World War. This is what it's like right now happening today. Or even not even today, just as much as it was during the COVID times. They're treating you the same way. Let's see what they want to see: your papers, who you are. They want to track you, who you are. If you don't show papers, you cannot be, you'll be, if you don't show papers, you go to jail. Now, why I'm bringing this up? Because they are trying to bring this forward now, digital identity, that you have to have it on your person all the time. If you don't show it, whether you're trying to do a transaction in any kind of store or travel, if you don't show it or have it available, then you go to jail. They're not kidding around. They're playing, well, not kidding around, they're just being stupid. They're trying to see if they can control you and tell you what to do. And it can happen. This is the man that had tried everything can to make it happen. Right there. That's your culprit. Him and him. Both these two men were part of the Nazi regime of the Fourth Reich. He was part of the Third Reich. He actually worked with Hitler. This man here is part, his father worked with Hitler. Okay. This man right here works for him, controlling the banks. His name is Carney. Okay. Now, here's your World Economic Forum. All these people were prisoners. That was us, folks, back in the Second World War. Back then, they were just taking you off the street and putting you in prison. They called it the internment camps. Then if they want to decide to take you out, they do. So what do you see here? Both of these two people groups work together to take us off the streets. And guess who's in England, in London, England right now? Them. They want to restart the whole beginning of a war again. So this man here, okay, he worked for, he actually was an SS officer. He called himself an Australian, called himself a Ukrainian freedom fighter. He was not. He was actually, he was not a freedom fighter. In fact, this guy here is related to Christopher Freeland. That's her uncle. He's a Nazi sympathizer, always was, an SS officer. She herself is involved in the SS. Okay. All of these people here were all involved in, you know what? These guys here are called the brown shirts in this corner here. Okay. They're called the brown shirts. And that was actually what with George Soros's group. That's what I call brown shirts. They're the ones that were recruiting people or forced recruitment. And the Ukraine soldiers right now in the Ukraine are forcing. Now remember this next time the Soros funded liberals call you a racist, fascist, Nazi. That's abrasive. Okay, this is George Soros's father. Or sorry, this is George Soros himself. He already worked. To see that little tag in the corner of his coat? That's the SS. Okay, that's the SS. Him, they're this is sorry. This is George Soros's. This is George Soros here, and that's him right there as a boy, young teenager, and he actually was an SS officer. See here, he was recruiting as a brown shirt. Not good, and he got away with it. That man should have been under the. He should not even be here. Period. Okay.
We're developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Which basically, it already has started. They're saying they haven't, but they did. It's already been going, but they're trying to scare us to make us believe that actually it does exist. So, one thing I want to bring this up, and this is the biggest fear factor, the biggest scare tactic they're trying to do. They want to put up cameras and bring out these what we call robot police officers and robot dogs. And sure, they may be martial law, but that's not the way it's supposed to be. It ever will be. Martial law is not going to be in that position that way. Everyone's thinking that we're going to be like. I mean, here's the thing. If you see this helmet on this guy, that's German design. That's a German helmet. So why did somebody make this design to look like a German helmet? I mean, that means that the Germans won the war, or they're the ones in the control, and that's not where it should be. And again, they're wearing a mask. They don't want you to see what they look like. It says keep calm and carry on. For what? You have no freedom to move around. That's bull crap, right? So this is their scare tactic, or whoever these people are. Ain't going to happen, folks. I already know that. We had a mayor by the name of Doug McCallum who actually wanted to go with the New World Order. And so he, where is that sign? Where did I put it? They made that for Surrey here in British Columbia. And he made a tracking. He actually made up a sign made by or designed under Jimmy Patterson's sign under contract, where he, if you, they wanted you to report, you as a neighbor, to report on your neighbor. If you have too many people coming to that person's house, if there's too many people coming to their house, you're supposed to report it. And they would actually, the city would give them a $25 gift certificate, whatever have you, for turning them in. Like, really? Like, you dumbass? But you get these people were doing it. And they were like, why? So, but here's one thing goes. Like, again, folks, we need to not take their crap, not to allow them trying to control who we are, because we have our freedom and it's there. This is what your freedom is. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms does exist. Okay? It does exist. Some people say you don't have freedom of speech. Yes, it's in there. It is in there. Read it. Okay? No politician can remove the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. They can't. Even Carney can't remove it, because Carney is not a politician. Carney is only a selected leader, not elected leader. He actually is not a Canadian citizen. He does not live in Canada. Okay? So he can't pass bills. His bills are null and void. Because he says he figures he can just pass all these bills and get money to pay himself under Brookfield. And he's already paying himself constantly since he's been in. And he's laughing at you guys, laughing at us, like, I can get whatever amount of money I want, and you can't do anything about it. We have that charter, right, and freedom. Absolutely. Now, I want to finish telling you guys regarding the viruses that did exist. Okay, you need to know this so you have a better understanding of this. I'm not here to scare tactic anything. I'm here to show you guys what's going on. If you already know what's going on, that's fine. But please like and share this. In 1932, the Tuskegee syphilis study begins. 200 black men diagnosed with syphilis are never told of their illness, are denied treatment, and instead are used as human guinea pigs. They all subsequently die from syphilis. Okay. In 1935, the pellagra incident, after millions of individuals die from pellagra over a span of 2 decades, the U.S. Public Health Service finally acts to stem the disease. The director of the agency admits it had known for at least 20 years that pellagra was caused by a niacin deficiency, but failed to act since most of the deaths occurred within the poverty-stricken black populations. It's a racial thing. Okay, again, it's a racial experiments. In 1940, 400 prisoners, this is prisoners, folks, in Chicago are infected with malaria in order to study the effects of new and experimental drugs to combat the disease. Again, experimental drugs, as what we all went through. Nazi doctors later on trial at Nuremberg cite this American study to defend themselves. In 1945, Project Paperclip is initiated. The U.S. State Department, okay, Army intelligence and the CIA recruit Nazi scientists and offer them immunity and secret identities in exchange for work on top secret government projects. In 1947, the CIA begins its study of the LSD, okay, back in the 70s. No, sorry, 1947, LSD, as a potential weapon. Human subjects, both civilian and military, are used with and without their knowledge. Again, they're using the military, people that join or even they're forced to join, were also experimented on, which I find is very wrong. You're supposed to be, if you're supposed to fight for freedom and you're doing it, you think you're doing the right thing for your country, then you want to be willing to be the experiment and see if you die. Doesn't make any sense. I mean, you are your own boss, is your own enemy. In 1950, the experiment to determine how susceptible an American city would be to biological attack, the U.S. Navy sprays a cloud of bacteria from ships over San Francisco. Many residents become ill with pneumonia-like symptoms. In 1956, when I was born, the U.S. military releases mosquitoes infected with yellow fever over Savannah, Georgia, and Avon Park, Florida. Following each test, Army agents posing a public health officials test victims for effects. Now, 1965, prisoners at the Holmesburg State Prison in Philadelphia are subjected to dioxin, the highly toxic chemical component of Agent Orange used in Vietnam. The men are later studied for a different type of cancer. Okay. In 1966, the U.S. Army dispenses Bacillus subtilis variant Niger throughout the New York City subway system. More than 1 million civilians were exposed when Army scientists drop light bulbs filled with bacteria onto the ventilation grates. Your own people. Okay. Those of you actually living in New York, you people were dying because your own country attacked you. You experiment. In 1990, more than 1,500 6-month-old Black and Hispanic babies in Los Angeles are given an experimental measles vaccine that had never been licensed for use in the United States. The CDC later admits that parents were never informed that the vaccine being injected into their children was an experimental, just like the COVID shot. In 1994, Senator John D. Rockefeller issues a report revealing that for the last 50 years, the Department of Defense has used hundreds of thousands of military personnel in human experiments and for intentional exposure to dangerous substances. In 1995, the U.S. government admits that it had offered the Japanese war criminals and scientists who had performed human medical experiments salaries and immunity from prosecution in exchange for data on biological warfare research. In 1995, Dr. Garth Nicholson uncovers evidence that the biological agents used during the Gulf War had been manufactured in Houston, Texas, and Boca Raton, Florida, and tested on prisoners in the Texas Department of Corrections. In 1996, the Department of Defense admits that Desert Storm soldiers were exposed to chemical agents. In 1997, 88 members of the Congress signed a letter demanding an investigation into the bioweapons use and Gulf War syndrome. So the word in the 14th century, folks, pandemic, Greek word for meaning pan, all, local, people with the crowd, killed up to about half of the Eurasia's population, known as pestilence. The great mortality or plague was a bubonic plague in the Afro-Eurasia in 1346 to 1353. 75 to 200 million people in Eurasia and North Africa caused by bacterium is COVID-19 as well. It was not just the first experiment. It was just carried on until the next time. Now, some of you may, like I said, may know that's exactly what's going on. Now, I wanted to bring this up for a reason. I've talked about this on my program before, but I want to let you guys know about this because it needs to be refreshed for the public to know this. Now, I talked about the price of fame at the very beginning of the program. What does it mean? Sign your life away to the devil to be famous. Now, number one, I'm bringing this up for a reason, and that is I asked, why does everyone in Hollywood have to do that? Why did they fall for it, or did everybody fall for that sign your blood to the devil if you want to become really famous? Does that mean if you didn't sign, you don't become famous at all? Or do they just basically cancel you out and say you're not going to be famous, and we're going to make sure you're no longer part of it? Okay. So if the devil was in Hollywood and he was living there, or this entity's living there, and people are the assistants, the company's names, there's record people that own records, record companies that are working with the devil, Hollywood itself, but there's certain people that are assistants to help them sign in blood, because the more you get people to sign in their blood or whatever, they're signing their soul away, then they get benefits, and that was blood. Okay. And yet they're also in it was, they call it the soul contract or the blood signature. And it didn't just happen just for Hollywood. This tool that they used, what I found out, anytime somebody wins an award, it's their time to be sacrificed. Because anytime ever anybody got that award, they knew that they're going to say bye-bye. They're going to be gone, taken away. I've watched some of these people that won the award were not excited. But sometimes some of them actually didn't know what going to happen to them. But most of them found out after, if you win that award, you're no longer who you are. You become that new person that takes over you. That you are no longer, you're no longer enjoying your soul, your life. That person takes over you. That whatever it is that takes over, they just walk into your eye, and you get the black eye club, and you're no longer them. You're no longer you. They become you. Where do you go? Does God take you away and take you back home? Or do you have to suffer through this? Don't know. But humankind should never have to suffer. What I looked up here in this, politicians, singers, entertainers of any sort, really, even the world economy, even the WWE wrestlers became part of Hollywood as well. And I noticed even they look changed. So when you become more famous, you look smaller and smaller and smaller. You're not that big person anymore. And you start acting like every other Hollywood person. You start walking around naked, doing things in public to humiliate yourself because you're supposed to. You're supposed to wear a dress because you look like a cross-dresser. That's beginning of the trans dressing. You are either deciding to make a decision to take one of your children to actually transgender them. Again, it's part of the Satan stuff, right? And also, yeah, that's what happens at times. Now, there are a lot of actors out there decided to avoid it, that don't want to win awards. They'll avoid it. They won't even show up until they need awards at all. They don't want to be nominated. But yet they're slightly known. And it took courage for a lot of them actually to say, okay, I need to find somebody to protect us. And then it took them a lot of years to do it. So we have the word entertainment, the meaning of it. Enter means in, walking in, entering. Attain, T-I-N, means holding or keeping. Okay. The ment means state or condition or agent. So when you become an entertainer, that means that you are going to be kept as a person by the agent. They control you. They control you because you signed that piece of paper. You put your soul on that paper. Now, one thing I'll give you guys, give you a lot of heads up. The devil cannot touch your soul, can never take it from you. God owns that soul. That's one thing that between God and the devil, God always said, you can never take a soul from any of my people because I own their souls. They are me and they are them. So anytime they try to get you to do what they want you to do, ain't going to happen. Jordan Maxwell even exposed people and warned people, if you're going to be part of Hollywood, be aware of it. But keep your distance, that you're not going to be harmed or taken away. That's why I made a flyer that shows me in a magazine and saying, oh, they were reading about this person, he or she is famous. What I'm doing there is telling a story. I'm telling a story for people to be aware that you have the freedom of right, the freedom of walk, the freedom of speech, the freedom of talk. You have the freedom of everything in your heart because God gave you that freedom. They didn't. God gave you freedom. No government has any right over you. None. No one can tell you where you can't go because you're born in this world. You go places. God brought you here for a reason, not to be locked up. God didn't bring you here to lock you up. God brought you here to live the life of who you are in your mind, your thoughts, your soul. Everything is there. It's freedom. When humankind or mankind creates these controlled slavery organizations because they're told to do it, not because they want to, they're told to do it. Who's above them telling them to do it? Who's above them? All these people that are very, very rich because they want to see they want to be a god, and they want to control you, and they want to see how far they can control you. Now they've been doing this for generations, for hundreds of years. This is generational, hundreds of years. But guess what? There are certain people now today that are of another generation and generation and generation, and they kept trying to sweep their name and their bloodline under the rug. Guess what, folks? Those bloodlines will never, ever, the special kind of bloodline will never be destroyed. And that's the Christ bloodline. It still exists. We're all part of it, but there's a real Christ bloodline. that goes from generation to generation to generation, where Jesus, Yahshua, walked the land. His children still lived, had children, still lived, had children, still lived. Their generation was never erased, and it was recorded. But they moved around a lot. And guess what? They're here today. They're here helping you. They're here to tell you, to show you, you are a free person. Why do you think Morgan Freeman calls himself free man? Because he's not the real Morgan Freeman. He is someone else who had a true birth name, but he calls himself Morgan Freeman. Listen to your names. Listen to who you are. My job was given to me. My name was Derek. Why? It means courageous leader. Now, I didn't even really know much about it. All I knew was I'm a person that fights for the liberty of people. I stand up for help, show you to stand up for yourself. The rights of humanity and humility, because sure, we all go through it, and they're going to challenge you. And every dark force is going to try to get in your way and trying to scare you and try and see how far they can get away with you. And even threaten to the point of, oh, if you don't do as I tell you, you're going to go to jail. Been there, done that. You don't scare me. Because that's what they're going to try and do. See if they can take it out of you where you can't, you're just going to give up and capitulate. No, ain't going to happen. I know I did not break the law. There's man's law and there's God's law. I never broke God's law. They did. Every day, our governments break God's law. Every day, our government breaks man's law. But they say it's okay, don't worry about it. Every day, there are people out there, even there are certain police people in police forces and militaries that we're getting away with too, with murder and getting away with other things. CIA, you name it, any positions of any kind of law officials, they were taken away. The ones that that thought they're going to get away with it got caught. It's being cleaned up right now as we speak. Every force all across the lands are being cleaned up now. They're gone. And there's maybe a few left, but not many left. We just still have to keep on hanging on. We're doing so well. We're getting better. We are improving. That's why President Trump had that big, huge gathering in the White House to tell the people, ain't going to happen. You're not going to take it away from us. He told everybody straight up, do you want to protect? Are you here to protect the illegal aliens, or are you here to protect the citizens of the United States? And none of the Democratic Party stood up. They did not stand up to protect the people, the citizens of the United States. They're there to protect the illegal aliens. You know why? Because the illegal aliens makes them money. Trump knows it doesn't make them money. They the Democrats love violence. The liberals love violence. Are in Canada here. They love to see catastrophes. They love to see people harming people, even as far as even taking unliving people. They don't care because they know they can walk away and say, no big deal, not my problem. Yes, it is your problem because you are also responsible. You politicians, you are responsible. And I feel bad for some of the politicians that I know personally that are friends of mine. They said, this is not the kind of job I wanted. This isn't the one I wanted to see people get hurt. Their job, they thought they were doing something right. I got friends that are military, that are in police officers, wonderful guys. They wanted to do their job. They thought they're doing their job, right job, but their bosses above them tell them, oh, turn away, walk away, don't get involved, walk away, let them steal, let them harm people, walk away. What? They're breaking the law. Walk away. Who's paying that guy above him? Who's paying him to tell us to stay away from, telling them to stay away from violent people, stay away from bank robbers, stay away from people that are thieves, stay away from people that break and enter in your house, stay away from people that are actually unliving you and your family. And even though you want to defend your home and you have your own protection in your own home and you shoot back, to defend yourself and your family, and you're the one, the homeowner, goes to jail, and the bad guys don't go to jail. They walk out and walk scot-free. And they come back into the house while you're in jail, and they go in the house and they beat the crap out of your family, or they unalive them and steal what's left of them. It's happening in Ontario, guys, in Canada, and probably other parts of the world too. This has got to stop. It takes people like you and I, all of us, we have to come together. You may not like your neighbor sometimes, but your neighbor has to get along with you. Look, we need to protect each other. We just stand up stand side by side with each other. You need to. You can't walk away from this one. You can't just do this alone. You can't. Nobody can. You are not meant to be alone or all the time. Sure, you can do your research and say what you can. And some people say, okay, I heard enough. I'm going to go and pack it in. That's fine. Or I'll refer back to watch your show again. Fine. I'm not here to bring up things that stung you in the beginning. I'm here to show you that they're trying to scare you again, to be aware of it and to be awakened and not to follow or believe that they think they have anything over you. They don't. As long as you say no and you're in groups, they can't touch you. All of England right now in the UK are fighting back against the Muslims. The Muslims thought they can actually take over the whole city of London. And guess what? London fought back. The Muslims are backing off. They thought they can take over the neighborhoods and do whatever they want and hurt anybody they want. And even though you're born in England, they're not. And they're actually got machetes out, clubs, you name, and they're beating the crap out of their own people. The real citizens of the United Kingdom, and they're beating the crap out of them or putting them in the hospital, even far as unaliving them. And all the cops can do is walk in and grab their bodies and haul them away, and you can't do shit. But if you actually mention Jesus' name or pray in public, and you pull out the Bible, you go to jail for 2 years? Really? See, the devil controls the government. And that's exactly what they're allowing them to be controlled. No. You got to tell your friends this, folks. You tell family that. Don't let yourself get arrested singularly. If someone says something and you make sure you want to go on the street and say something in public, make sure you got people around you because the cops won't touch you. If they grab you and say they want to arrest you, you tell the cops no, and you make a barricade. And it's been done before where other guys actually stood together, 5-6 guys at the same time against 2 other cops, and they tried to get that guy to arrest him. No, they couldn't because they barricaded him. They all fought back against the cops. The cops couldn't do anything about it. Well, they tried, but they put the cops down. The cops already know they're breaking the law. It is. They're breaking the law, and they already know that. But everything that's recorded, folks, record them. Everybody, whenever you're going somewhere, and if you're having a conversation with someone, make sure you bring out your camera and you record them. Record them. Don't just do this all alone. Record them. And if they say, well, you can't use the recording, yes, you can. You have every right to record them because they don't want to be recorded because they know they're breaking the law. And you have history on them. And you can share it in public. You can share it in the social networks. That's why our government right now today is trying to pass a law that you cannot share nothing. And they don't want you to share anything because they're going to call that, they're trying to say you can't say anything. And they have full say in this? No. None. No. That's even in Canada. In the States, it's different. Trump, he's protecting you guys. Here, I wish we had a guy like Trump here in Canada to protect us. Everybody say, well, we want Poilievre. Well, Poilievre can only do so much. But even he can't get very far because Carney is trying so hard now to shut us down. Shut Poilievre down. He almost had... The Liberals thought they can actually get rid of Poilievre so quickly to wipe him off his position as being a conservative that even one conservative MP decided to step away his position and gave it to Poilievre. Where would we be right now if we didn't have Poilievre? Now, people say, well, I don't trust him either. It makes no difference, folks. We still got to follow the story. Once upon a time, there was a man named Poilievre. And he said this and he said that. no matter what he did or didn't do. And there's other people out there that are trying to make it that the conservatives are not good enough. The conservatives that are working today are better than the ones from the past. The liberals that are here today are not like the liberals that were here 20, 30 years ago. These are corrupt liberals. These are not the good liberals. These are the bad liberals. They're evil liberals. Okay, they're not even liberals. They're libels. Okay, they're liars. There should be an LIE in front of the liberals, because that's exactly what they are. LIE brawls. Liberals. That's all they do. Because they run away. They anytime you confront them with the truth and question them, they avoid the answer. Why? Because they know they can't do the job, but they pay themselves well between $250,000 to $450,000 a year income. And all they have to do is work only 8 months a year, 9 months a year. The rest of it's all their time off. And they can bugger, and they get paid for that time off. Your tax dollars pays for it. And they walk away. And they're not your friend. So we voted for people to work for us. We didn't vote for people to tell us what to do. We didn't vote for people to put us in prison, because that's exactly what you guys did. You voted for people to put you behind bars if you did not agree with what they want. You don't vote for people that actually are trying to control you. It's dumb. And then someone says to me, well, then I don't vote at all. No, if you don't vote, they still stay in. You have to really fight for who you vote for. Now, Polyev should have won by the thousands. But this last election, all of his illegal, they did it legally. It was actually friends of mine that actually recorded them. All the scrutineers took all of the ballot boxes and threw them in the dumpsters after the voting boxes were done. They weren't even counted yet. They just threw them all in the dumpsters after the vote. People came in to do X, mark their X on there in the box, and then after the end of the day, all the scrutineers they're told to throw the boxes into dumpsters. That's why Polyev never won. It was all rigged. And why were everybody supposed to use pencils? Whatever happened to the machine that you use, a metal machine, put your vote inside? It makes basically those machines are locked up inside to know what your vote is. But the boxes they're bringing out is the old-fashioned one, which is cardboard with a big hole in it. Well, anybody can go in there and take anything out and check and see what it is, who they want to be in. And if there's actually pencil marks on there, that means they can erase that pencil mark and put something else on it to mark them in to win. Because the scrutineers are working for them. Scrutineers is not supposed to be involved whatsoever. Now, I want to give you guys a bit of advice. Anybody that you know is a scrutineer working for any voting stations, here I want to give you guys some advice about scrutineers. Okay? And I know the Roberts rules. Read them up, folks. Get a book called Robert's Rules. Any scrutineer that meddles with your voting cards can be charged under a federal offense, a $50,000 fine and life in prison. Did you know that? You scrutineers, I'm giving you a heads up. No matter if it's a provincial or federal election, if you mess up by meddling with those ballots, you're going to prison. You're gone. You're going bye-bye. And according to President Trump, anybody who corruptly starts to destroy voting cards are going to go into one way to Gitmo. You're not coming home. That's a heads up. Make it clean. Now, there's one thing I want to say before the end of the night. There's a young man who actually has been doing a lot of good stuff and sharing information on Facebook. I like his formalities. I like his, I would say his formats, what he shares in its information. But he's also related to Diane's family, Princess Diane. But the way he's actually from Wales, like I said, nice fellow. But he treats people, the public, like a piece of shit. I will give you some advice, my lad. You're young. I'm not going to name your name, but you know who I am because I'm on your page. And I know very well you'll see me. Be more respectful to the public. You don't treat people like shit. As in, if someone actually asks you questions and you find it you find that they don't know what they're talking about or saying they don't want to talk about, and if you don't behave yourself, they're not going to kick you out. That's not being a good person. You're just being an ass. Okay? You have to explain to people because they're lost people. They're lost souls. They don't know what to do. They want to trust and believe in you. But if you want to be treated like you treat them like you're like a bully, and you are a bully, you act like a bully a lot. And you know you're following me, and I know I've been watching you. I don't mind, you know who you are. I've been watching you for a long time, and I like your work. But when you start treating people like shit, when you do a live thing on your room, and you start treating them like crap, your viewers, and tell them that they're crazy and stupid, whatever have you don't like, I can lock you out, kick you out, and you won't ban you out, and you won't come back. If they're actually being an idiot to you and treating you like bad, then fine. But if they're questioning you, you don't kick them out. If you want to kick them out, then don't even have your Facebook Live or any social network. You're just being a dick. And that should be useless or useful. So, people are trying to believe in others to see that we can get there to this day and that we can be successful, and stop taking the edge of us to worry what's going to happen next. They need people like us to give them that peace of mind that everything's okay, that we're going to do fine. I show you what's going to happen that's heads up that will come into the future. They're going to try to see if they can scare you again. Don't follow the freaking repeats. Okay? Don't tolerate it. Just say no. We've already fought back against their bills that are trying to pass in Canada here, and we fought back against it. We petitioned it, and guess what? It never went through because we made sure that Polyev and all of their crew were aware of what was going on here in Canada. And anybody else that anybody is coming up with anything that's happening other kind of state lines, they pass your petitions out to any kind of violence, anything that's going on in certain areas. You pass it on to Trump, or you pass it on to the FBI. They'll see it. I've been dropping notices to them. Anything that I see that's violent, that actually where I'm not sure if the president has actually seen it, but I drop it into some of his pages that he has. I let his people, if it's not him looking at it, somebody else that's doing it for him to represent him, fine. Drop it in there to see if they've actually seen that story. If they did, that's fine. If they didn't, that means they got the story and they're going to do something about it. They will. And if you don't hear back from them, they're trying. Don't forget, folks, there's all kinds of things, bad things happening all across the world, and they're all doing their darndest. Way better. We are and always will be the 51st state. We always have been the North Americans since 1867. Has always been. I knew that since I was a kid. But I thought, oh, maybe, because I remember them stop using the word North Americans. We're not North Americans. Yes, we are. Always have been. And then everybody's reminding me, Derek, don't you realize? Yes, I know we are. I knew it. I'm not dumb. And I've got friends that trust me and friends that are doing the same kind of work as I do. Right? Keith, you're in there. Yeah. And also, who else I got in here in my room that are visiting me and they give me all this good stuff. So, not to worry, folks. Anybody that's ever done anything wrong in the past, they're gone. They're done. But you'll still get a lot of repeat stories that they're going to be rehashing back 2, 3, 4 years ago to get you to believe, oh, well, all this hamburger thing. Oh, well, McDonald's is really bad now. They said there's not that many cattle in the world to make these burgers. Yes, there is. There's lots of cattle now. Always still has been. Okay. There's no human sources put into the burgers anymore because Trump made sure of it. He took care of it. That's why Trump did his presentation walk into any McDonald's And he even served that guy, these people at the window with his apron on, and says, "Hey, how you doing? I'm the president of the United States, and here's your burger." He even stood there and he actually put it together himself because he knew that burger was safe, because he cleaned it up before it got there. Right? Are you kidding me, Ernie? You got trannies using the women's washroom at Donegal's pub in Surrey? Then you need to do is to basically, the women are going to have to be the ones say no. You're going to have 4 or 5 women say, well, don't allow that tranny to walk in the women's washroom. The women are going to have to say no. Kick them out. Kick them out. They have to blockade the door. If you blockade it, if you guys blockade it, then they'll make a big deal about it. But if the women blockade it to keep that tranny out, they can't walk in. You can have boobs, doesn't mean you got, if that thing wasn't cut off, you're not a girl. Sorry. They love to get away with it. They do it for a purpose. They just fill out the spot and then say, okay, I'm a tranny now. No. No. Yeah, well, then you're going to have to get the women, let them know, and have them say no. They should know, but these women know they can do something about it. You got to tell them, no, don't let them in. There was a father here in Canada, here in Vancouver, that stood in front of the door to not allow a tranny to walk into a washroom, a school washroom. This was an adult trans man about to walk in the door right behind us. As soon as his daughter walked in there, she was 12, and she goes, "Dad, I need to use the washroom." So he stood there in front of the washroom. He went out, and that guy, the tranny, was wanting to walk in. I'm not going to go, oh, there she is. I'm going to walk in there and see if he can expose himself, because he's well known to that, eh? And so the father stood in front of the door. You're not going in there. Why? I have the right to go walk in there. No, you don't. I'm protecting my daughter. I'm guarding the door. You can't. You got to move. You got to get out of my way. I need to go to the original other washroom. There's many other washrooms down here. No, he wanted that washroom because that little girl's in there, and he figures he can do whatever he wants. Well, who are you to tell me I can't go in there? I'm the father of that daughter. And the guy went, I don't care. Well, guess what? He says, you do. If you try to walk in, he says, I'll break your arm. And then if you try to get in again, I'll break your leg. You break, and you're trying to get in again, he says, you'll never be able to walk again. Because he's protecting his daughter. She asked for dad's protection. So, because she knows, that little girl knew that guy was following her, the tranny, and she had to find safety. So she asked for her dad for help. She had to call her father from home, who wasn't a couple blocks away, to help her use the washroom with her father's help, because the teachers wouldn't help her. They told her that person has a right to walk in the washroom, and she felt so unsafe. And he kept touching other girls and got away with it, and teachers wouldn't do nothing about it. Oh, well, he's just playing. He's just a game. It's just, the kids don't mind. No, yes, they do mind. They're scared of that person. Deathly afraid of him. So, anyways, on a lighter note, let's see here. I'm going to share something for you guys as a final part of the night, because I did it. I shared information on my wall. I think you guys might like this. I'm sure you'll enjoy this. I wrote a book many years ago, back in 2002, and it's called The Power of the Word. And I'll share that with you right now. The word power has a strong vibration. Words can create many emotions with their use: happiness, joy, love, sadness, anger, ego, and countless. Each word has very significant vibration on its own, regardless of whether we use its strength or not. Let us examine the word, the word strong in the phrase. He has a strong presence, this word, because of the way it is used, carries the suggestion of ego with it, but not everyone will relate to that feeling. Now, this does not mean that the person is stronger or greater than everyone else. That strong presence might represent God's presence, stronger or greater, within that person. People in need of healing around that person may feel peaceful, or healing energies radiate towards them. On the other hand, that strong presence may come from that person's confidence in how they feel towards them, towards life. That the ones that received healing were meant to be here at the particular moment to receive it, and everyone has a different approach about themselves. Have you ever thought about your choice of words when someone greets you? Hi, how are you? How many of you automatically say, not bad or not good? Let's take the first word, not bad. Not in no way, to no degree, used to express negation, denial, refusal, or prohibition. And bad, worse, not achieving an adequate standard, poor, evil, or sinful, disobedient, and disagreeable, but not fresh, and on and on and on. Now, is this what you really meant to rely on as how you feel? Not and bad tells everyone, including your higher self, that you are not good and you're not bad health. Now, there are other words that we can use so as not to bring the low energies to ourselves. Become more aware of what energies or vibrations come along with the spoken word. Here, in another phrase, with strong vibrations attached, the word is, I hate that guy. The word hate is not part of God's philosophy and also brings darkness around you. Why would you intentionally bring your darkness to yourself? And if you also brings darkness around you, then why would you intentionally bring darkness to yourself? I'm repeating again here. If you need to, why not say, I dislike that man? This says you do not agree with what he is and does not carry quite the same negative vibration as the word hate. Of course, that this doesn't mean that you still haven't created some karma and those words, but each word has a pattern of energy and the vibration you bring into yourself and people's lives. Just take it day to day and learn how to phrase your words around yourself and others. We are all given a job as healers. In some way in our life, patterns as the word healer in capitals, this does not always come with a medical license. Most natural healer is the mother as she sits beside you, running her fingers over your head to soothe the pain, or a kiss on a bump, or maybe a hug. A father's prayers, grandparents' praise, love and affection, a dog's lick on your face, or a cuddle with a purr from a kitten. A nurse checking your temperature or pulse, the minister's words in church, the shaman, the medium, or spiritual healer using their healing tools or sacred ceremonies. A teacher's words of encouragement, a singer's songs. Songs are full of healing, with vibrational sound, shaking of rattles, playing drums, guitars, piano, violins, and other instruments used for music and song all over the world. Songs and music and create dancing, laughter, joy, haunting memories of long ago, and even telling stories. The word healer and healing are strong words with high energies and can even come from nature itself. And a much needed rain, a cooling breeze of a hot day, or the sound of waves on the shore, or sun through a window, birds singing in the trees, a scent of flowers, the sound of flowing water, and as we relax with a book in the shade of a tree. Healing comes from everywhere. Just reading this passage can bring these images into your mind and to bring back that healing of peace. We just need to be aware that and open for that vibration. Eternal love, having no beginning or end. Perpetual, changeless, deep, tender feelings of affection and solitude toward a person. God gives us eternal love, universal love. Words can affect people in different ways. As we become aware, we feel the difference, right and wrong, trust, faith, hope, to mistrust, doubt, despair. So many words, thousands upon thousands upon thousands in every language imaginable. Each word is unique with its own meaning and power to create an emotion or image. We can all be aware of our word usage. Try it a while and see the difference a slight change can bring you to your life, and to many who come in contact with you, a smile and a thank you very much can bring an answering smile and a feeling of warmth. And this is another of this life's lessons. God be with you all, and many blessings. So that's me. I wrote this many years ago from Spirit. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and I'll let you guys go. God be with you, guys, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Please like and share this program as much as you can. Share with everybody, because if you can, knowingly, I hope it all works out well. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. And thank you guys for being part of the program. Yeah. Oh, the chat room's been busy, folks. In and out, in and out, in and out, which is great. So, okay, be good to each other. We'll talk to you guys next week. Have a great week, weekend. And what else is going to happen? Make sure the sun shines at your back every day, and look forward to the morning every year, every day, and every time, every hour, every minute, you name it. Second sound. Breathe. Take it in. Love it. Take care, guys.